Attention passionate Washington Commanders fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Washington Commanders' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Washington Commanders fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with YOUR, FRINDS, and Washington Commanders FANS. Let's get to the news. There's a lot of buzz swirling around the NFL right now. And for us especially, it's about what could be a game-changing move involving the Washington Commanders. Rumors are flying about a potential trade that might just reshape the entire defensive front for Washington in the upcoming seasons. And the player at the center of it all. None other than Max Crosby, the Pro Bowl edge rusher for the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, I know it sounds wild, but the NFL offseason is always full of surprises, and this one might be the kind of shakeup that everyone in the NFC East will be talking about for a long time. So, let's break down what's really going on here. According to some whispers from reliable sources like Diana Rossini, the Raiders, who currently sit at 3-6 in the 2025 season and are facing a pretty tight cap situation with around $5 million in space, are considering trading Crosby. The idea is to send him to Washington in exchange for a second-round pick in the 2026 draft. Why would the Raiders do this? Well, it comes down to their current struggles. They're trying to free up cap space to extend key players like Davante Adams, who's earning a hefty $35 million, and to address their inconsistent defensive line, which has been giving up around 27 points per game in the AFC West, a number that's pretty alarming when you think about how competitive this division is. Now, from the Commanders' perspective, this isn't just about picking up a star. It's about making a statement. Crosby, who has been a dominant force and a perennial Pro Bowler, is having a stellar 2025 season. He's accumulated 5 sacks, 45 pressures, and 12 tackles for loss with a pass rush grade from PFF of 89.0, a truly elite level. His EPA per snap is at 38, and he boasts a win rate of around 22%. These are numbers that instantly elevate any defense, and for Washington, it could mean turning their front into one of the most feared units in the league. But what makes Crosby so special? Well, aside from his impressive stats, he's a relentless player, constantly applying pressure. Even coming back from an ankle injury that limited him to 82% of snaps in Week 5, his impact is undeniable. His pressure rate of around 25% and his ability to generate double-team opportunities make comparisons to players like J.J. Watt very fitting. He's that kind of disruptor, that game winner you want on your team when it matters most. In 2024, he already racked up 3 forced fumbles, showing his knack for creating turnovers and flipping games. The Raiders, on the other hand, are feeling the pressure to make moves. Their defense, which is supposed to be a strength, has been inconsistent, especially along the defensive line where they're averaging just 2.7 sacks per game. Their offensive line is also a concern, with a focus on building youth and depth, which is why trading Crosby might make sense from a cap and rebuild perspective. But it's a gamble. Trading away a player of his caliber could weaken their front line, especially since they've allowed around 210 rushing yards per game. Remember, back in 2019, a similar trade involving Khalil Mack cost the Bears about a 15% decrease in EPA for their run defense, so there's a real risk involved for the Raiders here. For Washington, this potential trade could be a game changer. The team's current edge rushing situation has been somewhat underwhelming due to injuries and inconsistent play. They're averaging around 2 sacks per game, which isn't enough when you consider the level of competition in the NFC. Bringing in Crosby would immediately boost their pass rush, potentially adding an extra 10 sacks over the course of the season. That kind of production could see the Commanders cutting down on opposing quarterbacks, time in the pocket, forcing more turnovers, and ultimately making their defense much more lethal. This move would also fit perfectly into the scheme led by Jack Del Rio and the front four coached by Jack Quinn. When employed correctly, Crosby's presence could elevate the entire line, increasing pressure by about 25% and improving run defense, which is currently allowing around 40 yards per carry. The ripple effect. Opposing drives could be shortened by nearly a full yard, with drive success rates dropping by around 5–8%. similar to what we saw when Nick Bosa made a similar impact for San Francisco in 2024, generating over 180 pressures that season. Now, the stakes go beyond just improving the defense. The potential trade has a ripple effect on the NFC East race, especially with the upcoming playoffs in sight. The Commanders' Super Bowl odds are already climbing, jumping from +7,500 to +3,500, thanks to their recent impressive performances and the hope of making a deep playoff run. Crosby, with his experience and game-changing ability, could be that X-factor that propels Washington into serious Super Bowl contention. His ability to produce pressure on third downs, with a reduction of -0.5 EPA, makes him a nightmare for quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts. His presence could be the difference between a good season and a great one for the Commanders, especially in high-stakes division rivalries. The idea of trading for Crosby isn't just about adding a star. It's about redefining what the Commanders' defense can be moving forward. With him anchoring the front line, Washington would send a clear message. They're serious about competing at the highest level, and they're willing to make bold moves to get there. For the Raiders, it's a rebuild move, a chance to reset their cap and roster. But for Washington, it's a shot at solidifying their identity as a top-tier defensive team, capable of challenging the best in the league. Of course, all of this hinges on whether the Raiders will actually pull the trigger. The trade deadline is approaching on November 4th, and with the pressure mounting on both sides, it's anyone's guess. But if it does happen, it could be a turning point for the Commanders, giving them the kind of edge rush that transforms their defense from decent to elite. Imagine a front four featuring Crosby, Quinn, and the existing talent. Opposing quarterbacks would think twice, knowing they're up against one of the most disruptive pass rushes in the NFL. In conclusion, this isn't just a rumor. It's a potential seismic shift that could define the NFC East's landscape for years to come. The combination of Crosby's talent, the Commanders' needs, and the timing of the trade deadline makes this story one to watch closely. It's the kind of move that could elevate Washington to new heights, making a serious push for the Super Bowl and establishing themselves as a dominant force in the league. The NFL offseason is always unpredictable, but for us fans, it's these kinds of stories that keep our excitement alive. We'll be watching closely, hoping that this trade becomes a reality and that our Commanders get the superstar they need to make a real run in 2025. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Washington Commanders news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Washington Commanders fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on the possibility of adding Max Crosby to this defense? Do you think it's the move that could push Washington over the top, or is it too risky? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the team. Remember, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Washington Commanders news. This is the kind of off-season drama we all love. Big names, big moves, and a team hungry to make a statement. Let's keep the energy high and the faith strong. Washington is on the rise, and with moves like this, who knows just how far they can go.